Hey guys, Rafi here from the Endgame Investor, and things are starting to fall apart fast.
Man has always loved his buildings. But what happens when the buildings say no more?
The best part was when the buildings fell down.
Today, we're going to go into two articles, one from the Wall Street Journal, the other from the Financial Times. I had the pleasure, if you could call it pleasure, of meeting the editor-in-chief of the Financial Times, Martin Wolf, several years ago at a conference in Bar-Ilan University. I showed up and I was not able to ask him a question, but as he was leaving, I snuck up behind him and asked him about his opinions on gold and whether it would be possible for the world to return to a gold standard. And he answered me that it was not possible because governments wouldn't allow it. The follow-up question that I never asked him, that I'm asking now, is what happens when the governments of the world run out of money themselves? How is it possible that governments can run out of money if they can just print whatever they feel like printing? The answer is global hyperinflation. Once all of the gold and silver value is extracted from a fiat currency, printing doesn't accomplish anything. The process of inflating a money supply, a money substitute supply, is to extract the gold or silver value of that currency. Once it is gone, there is no going back. So my answer to Martin Wolf's answer to that question, governments will not allow it. When governments run out of money, meaning their money substitutes are extracted of all value and they are valueless, governments will have to go back on a gold standard, or gold and silver themselves will have to be money without governments even being anywhere, because they will be powerless since they cannot enforce any laws if they do not have any money to pay any bureaucrats to do so. We like to pretend that the gold window, the convertibility of the dollar to gold, was closed in 1971. However, it was not, because you can still trade about $2,000 for 1 ounce of gold. And in that sense, it is still convertible. Hyperinflation will be complete once it is impossible to acquire any amount of physical gold. And we are seeing now that as the panic of this war with Ukraine is affecting the monetary system and bringing many commodities into a hyperinflationary territory, we are seeing the basic question once again asked: what is money?
I got a bunch of money too.
Oh, I like money. Yeah. I like money, though. I like money. I like money.
I like money.
Can't believe you like money, too.
So first, we will go to the FT and explain why it is so full of hubris that it is laughable. Title: Gold fetishism has had its day. Fetishism. As if gold bugs and people who enjoy real money, real hard money, honest money, are nothing but fetishists who like to lick feet. Anyway, the subtitle of this article says it all. Money isn't an asset. This author says it's a privilege. A privilege granted by who? What is he saying? That before central banks existed to issue fiat currency, there was no money, that it's a privilege, it had to be granted by someone. How is it a privilege? Money is a thing that exists in the world. It is not a privilege granted by some elite in an ivory tower. He's confusing money with money substitutes. The ability to issue a money substitute certainly is a privilege. It's called seigniorage. Putin's war in Ukraine rested on two premises: that a massive show of force would demoralize Kiev, and that Russia's $630 billion in financial reserves would deter anyone who might question the value of the ruble. But both premises evaporated because they depended on decisions that were beyond Putin's control. Fine. Whether Ukrainians would flee before a column of tanks, and whether the world would continue to grant Russia the privilege of money. Never has money appeared more political. Well, you see, the $630 billion in reserves that Russia's central bank no longer has, those are privileges printed by other central banks that the Russian central bank could have used to sell against the ruble. That is the privilege of issuing a money substitute. But money itself is not a privilege. It is a thing. It is a physical commodity that is simply the most marketable of all physical commodities relative to other commodities for various reasons, be it that it's hard, be it that it doesn't change form, or that it's divisible, and all that. The most marketable physical commodity relative to other commodities, that's all money is. There's no absolute money. There are only better monies and worse monies. The best money for this type of world is gold. Secondarily, for the retail level, is silver. It's been that way for thousands of years. Now, he says this: gold has long been fetishized in Russia and elsewhere, but the fetish of gold, keeps using that word fetish.
It tastes like feet. I like it.
Keynes' barbarous relic is the last gasp of a view that money has an intrinsic value in itself, constituted just by the fact of its existence. No, money does not have value because it exists. It's not that money has value, it's that gold has value, and gold's value is good as a money because of the various physical elements of gold itself. Now he says, but if gold cannot be moved in order to be traded, it too is useless. If it is stuck in the vaults of the Bank of Russia, it might as well not exist. That is not true either. You could say the same thing about any commodity that is useful. Oil that is locked in someone's basement and can't cross borders is valueless. Wheat that is locked in someone's barn is valueless. Iron that is locked in someone's factory is valueless. But that is not true because people need these commodities and therefore they will trade for them because they are needed to continue industry, to continue society. So is money, because it is the commodity that enables the division of labor through its preservation of value. It is simply another commodity. So you could say gold locked in someone's basement that is not accessible is valueless until somebody demands it so much that they will do anything to get their hands on it because they need money to continue the division of labor. Gold is simply a commodity like any other commodity that, because of its physical properties, enables the division of labor. And in any case, even if gold cannot cross Russian borders, it is still useful as a money to Russians, as it has been useful to people for about 5,000 years as a money. So can you say that for 5,000 years we've had a fetish for gold, or that gold is a money, and that the real fetish is in these people's own money substitutes and their hubris, that they think that their money is a privilege for the rest of the world to use? They are so full of their own egos that there's no room for any smidgen of rationality in these academic assholes. So what Russia can do is declare all rubles exchangeable for gold at the ratio of its balance sheet divided by its gold reserves. Make that the ratio of redemption, and then you have a gold standard, and rubles become a gold substitute directly and regain their value. Here, the final paragraph needs to be taken down. People often mistakenly see money as an asset. That's the old fetishism.
Gave her a foot massage. Foot massage.
But money represents a value, one that needs to be earned. Money doesn't represent a value. Money is simply a commodity. Oil doesn't represent a value. Wheat doesn't represent a value. People want wheat, people want oil, and they will trade other things for it because they want the wheat, because they want the oil, because they can use it. People want the gold ultimately because they can use it for whatever uses gold has, and there are many. So it doesn't represent a value that is a disembodied value. It is valuable to many people because of what it is, just like any other commodity is valuable to people because of what it is, because of whatever it can do for that person or people. It is very simple. And money need not be earned. There is no disembodied notion of value that need be earned. If you see a gold block on the floor, or whatever, you can pick it up without any work done, and it will still have value. There is no connection between work and value. That is a Marxist concept that is very dangerous, that allows for the ideological backing that says that because work makes value, anyone who works deserves to own the capital, and then you have a communist dictatorship and the revolution of the proletariat and millions of dead people. If value depended on work, there would be no such thing as failure. Failure means people work at something and it's valueless. That is what failure is. If value depended on work, failure would be impossible, which is what these people essentially think, and they are all wrong, and they're all crazy. Here he says, what ultimately makes a currency secure is credibility, the confidence of others. That will depend on whether a government observes laws and conventions. That itself is true, but it's not true about money itself. It is only true about currency. A currency is a money substitute. It is a substitute for gold or silver. Even now, when you exchange a currency for a good, you are exchanging the gold value of that currency for that good. When the currency can no longer be exchanged for any amount of gold or silver, the currency is dead and cannot be exchanged for anything. This is empirically and logically true. Empirically true because every single hyperinflationary currency that has ever existed, its exchange rate with gold and silver goes towards infinity, and it cannot be exchanged for real money any longer. This is not a coincidence. That means that the gold or silver value of that currency is now gone, and it cannot be rebuilt from the top down. As for what he says, that will depend on whether a government observes laws and conventions. Yes, laws and conventions means don't steal. If the government steals the gold and silver value of that currency by printing it and using it and spending it into existence, then yes, the value of that currency will fall, and credibility in that currency will fall, and then people will return to the real money itself rather than the currency and reject the currency, and it will hyperinflate. That is the process of hyperinflation, is the people rejecting the money substitute in favor of the money itself. Money isn't a shared illusion, he says. True, it is rather a series of agreements and customs among and within countries. False. Money isn't a shared illusion. Money is simply a commodity that happens to be more marketable and liquid and stable than any other commodity. The one that is the best at doing that is the de facto money. It is just a commodity like any other commodity. It is not a series of agreements and customs. So we have here the FT questioning what money itself is. Let's move now to the Wall Street Journal. If Russian currency reserves aren't really money, the world is in for a shock. Sanctions have shown that currency reserves accumulated by central banks can be taken away. With China taking note, this may reshape geopolitics, economic management, and even the international role of the US dollar. What is money? The article begins. It's a question that economists have pondered for centuries. But the blocking of Russia's central bank reserves have revived its relevance for the world's biggest nations, particularly China. First of all, economists have not been pondering what money is for centuries. The Austrian economists have explained what money is for many centuries, for 2 centuries about. Money is the most tradable commodity, the most liquid commodity. That is what it is. Doesn't matter which commodity. It happens to be gold. There's nothing intrinsic about gold that will make it money. It just happens to be the best commodity that has the best monetary properties. Here is the final sentence of this article, and I advise that it be taken seriously. What can investors do? For once, the old trope may not be ill-advised. Buy gold. Many of the world's central banks will surely be doing it. So we are headed into the final stages of what appears to be the endgame. Commodities of all kinds are rising fast. Except right now, we appear to be in a dollar crunch, as foreign central banks from foreign countries that are cut off with trade from Russia need dollars to pay their debts and to stay solvent. But once this dollar scramble ends, as the Fed will open swap lines with other central banks to provide dollar liquidity, gold will skyrocket to new highs very quickly, and we will be in the final stages of hyperinflation. When you exchange a dollar or a euro or a yen or a renminbi for any real good, what you are really doing is exchanging gold or silver for that. Because all fiat currencies were born as substitutes for those metals. Therefore, the money is still, right now, today, gold and silver. Very soon, the vestiges of the gold and silver value remaining in those currencies will be eroded out. And with that, all blockchains that do not have physical backing will fall in value to zero as well. The only thing that will be left is the actual monies that have been monies for thousands of years and still are monies today, still are traded for goods and services today through the money substitutes that are corrupted. The public of the world is about to stage its final attack on these money substitutes, and the power of all these governments that have the power to create money substitutes and extract that value from them and do their bidding, that is going to fall. And we are going to be in a very new world. You better be prepared for it by getting some real money right now. This is Rafi with the Endgame Investor, urging you to follow me on the Endgame Investor. Link in the description below. You'll get a 2-week free trial, or you can become my patron on Patreon to get my extra video content of my commentary, my libertarian commentary on the Bible for those interested in the connection between religion and liberty. This is Rafi of the Endgame Investor, and the endgame is right at our doorstep.